Hey, Jillian.
Hey, Kristen.
It's so good to see your face. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
It's been way too long. And I'm sorry for my voice. I'm pretty sure it's not just from the yelling I've been doing.
I think every mother who is now homeschooling her children is just yelling a lot now. So much yelling. It's
so much yelling.
As we get to try to work from home with our children around us.
I make these vows like, I'm not going to yell today. And then it becomes this huge passive aggressive, like,
I know,
martyrdom experience that people like even less.
Oh my goodness.
They're like, will you just please yell?
Totally.
And stop like walking around like this around the house.
Totally. We'd rather you yell than whatever this is.
And whatever. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think, like, we've just met like on the internet. Right?
Yeah. I think we met in like mom blog land.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were blogging about adoption.
No, you know what happened? I can actually tell you.
Okay. Tell me.
Because you went first. I found you.
Okay.
It was when we were adopting T.
Yeah.
And I was so, of course, like in that really distraught.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're talking about another world right now, right?
I know, right?
We'd been waiting. We tried so hard. We had done all those fertility treatments. We were waiting for so long.
Yeah.
And then we were in the adoption process.
Yeah.
And I started to seek out blogs.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all did.
Because I was like, the immediate community around me were all like, here's my doula.
Yeah.
And, it really helps if your husband massages your feet.
Yeah.
And I was just like, first of all,
yeah,
I can't pay my husband enough to touch my feet. And second of all, I can't go to your yoga class. I just can't.
It was such a unique, like being in the thick of it as an adoptive parent was such a unique experience when you were kind of going through it. But then I don't know if this is true for you, but it was like, so we all kind of huddled, adoptive parents, we found each other and we huddled and we related. But then it's almost like as our kids grow, the adoption issues are not as forefront. And so now it's just like we're back in the gen pop of parents who don't know what the hell they're doing. Right?
And I want to try, it's like when I was blogging more regularly about the adoption.
Yeah.
About both my adoptions. I really wanted to have that connection. And you're right, now it's not like I think about adoption all day long.
Right.
But I really want to still remain present.
Yes.
For the people, because like you're a couple of steps ahead of me. Yeah. Even though you're a couple of years younger than me because you were smarter. Am
I? I feel like we're the same age.
I think you are.
I'm 45.
A couple years younger.
I'm 45. I thought we were.
All right, we're close.
Yeah.
You're younger.
Okay.
But we're close. But I needed the people who walked that road
totally
before me.
Yeah.
And even though it's not really it's present for the kids now, it's present for us.
Yeah.
It's just not as much at the forefront. You know, I talked to T a little bit even this morning about his birth mother. And made sure that he understood, particularly in this time that we're all struggling with the virus, that I had a way to get in touch with her.
Good.
And I knew she was okay.
Yeah.
Jovi is younger and isn't thinking about it as much yet. like we talked about it, and it was,
yeah,
it didn't feel particularly fraught.
Yeah.
Or laden. Like we've been talking about it the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just a fluid kind of part of, it's there every day and then it's not there every day. It's
right. It's there every day.
It's a layer.
It's like race. It's like, it's there every day. It's not there every day. Like every day I wake up in the morning, do I think like, how am I going to talk to my Black adopted children?
Right.
No, I'm just like, put your shoes on.
Exactly.
Get in the shower.
Yeah.
But then there are moments when it comes up.
Well, and
we have to say like, this is what's happening in this country right now.
Yeah.
This, and I feel like we're so fortunate in a way that my kids don't really live in a world where they live in a very diverse world.
Mm-hmm.
They have friends like all different backgrounds.
Yeah. That really helps.
And, part of that is that they're in the public school system. And part of it is that we live in a major urban center.
Yeah.
And then all of those same things are also causing us to, be largely at risk right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so
true. Not the diversity part. That doesn't make us at risk. The large urban center makes us at risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in a hot spot. Yeah.
Yeah. We're in a real hot spot here. So, it's like very important to address. I think that I was much more engaged with it when they were little.
Yeah.
And now I'm more engaged with like, you don't get to play Fortnite.
Totally. Well, and
teenagers.
You have such a unique perspective because you were adopted as well. So you're an adoptee, and I'm sure that helps you understand where, how this can ebb and flow, and, how these issues can be at the forefront and then kind of maybe go to the back for a while. And
yeah, no, that's totally true. And I also, I think it's just really different for every kid.
I completely agree. Agree.
And also like, I'm a girl.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yeah.
I was always somebody who was like, pensive and thoughtful, much to the chagrin.
Yeah.
Of everyone around me still.
And even watching my two, they have very different personalities, and one is much more of a thinker, overthinks a lot. And then one is just really happy-go-lucky, like not a care in the world kind of kid. And both
I have the same thing.
Yeah. And both my kids don't have living birth parents. And, one kid has a lot of feelings about that. And then one kid's just kind of like, okay, moving on. Like their experiences are so unique to who they are as people, and how they approach the whole world. Well, okay, I want to get to you reading a little section of your book. So you wrote in the thick of this, especially, and wanting to look for other narratives around adopting. Jillian wrote a beautiful book about her experience of adopting Taraku. So why don't you read us a little section of that?
And I do want to say that I don't know what it's like for people right now.
Yeah.
We're in this process.
Yeah.
And I am, for me, it felt practically insurmountable at the beginning. And I just want to really, there are still so many kids without homes.
Yes. Especially in the foster care system.
Is still, especially in the foster care system.
Yep.
And it is still happening, and it's still possible.
Yes. Thank you for saying that.
Like, don't give up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an option. Taraku is 18 months old when he goes immediately from crawling to sprinting. I get stir crazy enough to forget the yoga debacle and try Gymboree. Music together and mommy and me swimming. I have no idea whether T is ready. So T was 18 months old at this time and quite delayed. Right? Maybe he's challenging because he needs more interesting activities than reading Mr. Brown Can Moo and pouring sippy cups full of milk into the Blu-ray player. On the other hand, maybe he's still transitioning and should stay in the house for another 3 months until he feels safe. But how am I supposed to know if either of these is true? I am so restless myself that I decide to go with the former. I stride into the classes as if I know what I'm doing. It's a strange thing to have a 1.5-year-old and have only 6 months of mothering under my belt. Most of the women walking around with kids this size have a crucial year on me. I am always self-consciously scrambling to catch up. In each class, when I begin to notice that T is markedly different from the other kids his age, I wonder if it's just the result of my lack of experience. At first, he is just the loudest and most active kid, and I take it as a point of secret pride, wondering why all those other kids are such duds. After about a month, he goes from being the kid who inspires laughter and then turns a bit nervous to the kid the other parents actually scramble to avoid sitting next to because he has no personal space. I stop bothering to smile at the other parents because they avoid eye contact. He knocks kids down in a way that lands somewhere between accidental and intentional. Every room, every Zoom, every room we're in, whether in the coffee shop or the indoor playground, he turns on a dime and makes a daring escape attempt, hurtling towards the door. I have to drop everything where I stand and dash out after him. He makes a break for it again and again, undeterred by how many times I bring him back, squirming like a grease pig and usually hollering to boot. At first, I'm painfully embarrassed, but eventually my embarrassment dissolves and is replaced by foreboding. What does this behavior mean? Will it just take a little time for him to feel safe, for his neurons to start firing correctly, or are we looking at a lifetime of struggle? And what the hell is going on with my kid? And that was not like the super positive passage I wanted to read you.
Well, but it's a real passage.
But may I offer?
Yes.
That I actually have the answer now. And he's a wonderful kid.
Yeah. He is.
It was just a time.
Yeah.
I mean, and does he still struggle? And isn't he an asshole? Can I curse on your podcast?
You can call your children assholes.
Yeah, he's
here.
An asshole. Yeah, for sure. He's 12.
Yeah.
But he's remarkable.
Yeah.
He is so engaged and artistic and thoughtful and bright and you know what? He doesn't have to be any of those things.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Like that's not the argument.
No, it's not the argument.
He has to be awesome.
Totally. No. And that's...
But I will say that it changes.
Yes, it does. And I think, that's one of the things that I appreciated so much about your book is I feel like a lot of us in the blogosphere, it's like we all talked about the process of adoption. And then we kind of got up to the, the coming home moment and those cute pictures. And then for so many of us, there was like this, oh gosh, like the struggles emerged, the really difficult struggles. And it's hard to write about those on a blog For one, because you're wanting to protect your kid's privacy, you know.
Right. And two, because you want to support the process.
Yes.
And you want to encourage other people.
Right. You don't want to
because children need homes.
Yes. And you don't want to make it seem like it's, you know, you don't want to be bad press for prospective adoptive parents.
I may have a good press, and it might be at the very, very end. Hang on. I should have prepared this better. I'm sorry, except I was homeschooling. Math.
My excuse is math. My excuse for everything is 5th grade math. Which I can't even do.
I can't subtract.
I can't do any of it.
I can't subtract.
Yeah. No.
I can't divide.
Fractions? I don't know that.
Trigonometry.
I don't even know what that word means.
Algorithm? Define algorithm.
You're confusing me.
I hate them.
I hate
them so much. Okay, here. Hopefully this is the right passage. Okay. I once screamed, "Fuck you, God," to an unfilling sky or an unfilling pile of laundry, as the case may be. And now I find myself driving around spontaneously thanking God for our challenges, for the way I've grown. I haven't looked at it in a long time. For the way I've grown to know the fierce and brave heart of my son, for the fact that I have come to value more fully the strength of my marriage. Oh yeah, and sorry about that fuck you thing, God. Through the trials of the past years, I have come to understand myself to be selfish, vain, petulant, and unequal to the task of mothering, to be sure, but also resilient and determined and resourceful. Who knew? And possessed of a rock-solid belief in my family.
I love that. I love that. Okay, the section I'm going to read is so similar to yours. It's funny because I
love your book so much.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait until it actually shows up in hardcover.
I know. I just got mine like 2 days ago. I got my hardcover finally.
I ordered mine. Pre-order.
Yes, pre-order.
Everyone pre-order.
But I was writing about the similar thing of just that time after, you know, after they come home and the honeymoon kind of wears off, and then, you know, we had attachment stuff to work through. And if people are watching and they're not adoptive parents, I mean, what that looks like is, you know, many of our kids spent time in an institution or had traumatic loss of, I mean, you know, adoption is a loss. And for some of our kids that manifested in, you know, difficult behaviors and
also testing,
and
right?
So much testing.
The testing is a big
so much
key.
Testing.
It's like,
yeah,
it's like I've been hurt so badly.
Yeah.
Like, how badly can I hurt you?
Totally. Yeah. And
to make you leave.
What can I do to make you not love me? Yeah.
Right. Like, will you leave?
And so here's what I wrote about that, because this is where I really struggled. To someone who doesn't understand attachment injury, it might look like manipulation. If you're a tired mom who is not able to always be mindful, it feels like manipulation. I really, side note, I really struggled with feeling like my kid was manipulating me. Like I had some evil child who was like conspiring against me.
Yeah,
I had to act. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know. Still. Yes. Not in past tense. I have to actively work to remind myself he was 4 years old. He was not a mastermind bent on gaslighting me and making me crazy, but in fact, a young and hurting child who needed love, but who was also testing the limits of love out of fear. And so again, I found myself at times asking myself, what would a loving mother do right now? What would a mother do if she was to love unconditionally, regardless of outcomes or reciprocation? What does love look like if I simply give it and don't expect anything in return? What does love look like? Why am I not wearing my glasses? What does love look like if it is completely independent of the way I feel I'm being treated? This is a lesson that all parents have to learn at some point. Sometimes our kids do not demonstrate the love back to us that we may have expected when we set out on this parenting journey. I really had to come to terms with some of my own subconscious selfishness in learning to love Kembe the way he deserved to be loved. Of course, I would never have directly thought, I need my child to make me feel loved and give me emotional hits in order to love them back. But I was surprised at what a challenge it was to freely give love when I felt like it was being withheld from me. So I loved as if. I went through the motions until the feelings followed. I pushed in, I cuddled, I pursued, I resisted my urge to get riled up, and I reminded myself constantly that this was a former orphan who had lost everything, and this was an expression of his grief. If I could stay in that mindset and not make it about myself or take it personally, I could maintain the empathy that he deserved. I loved Kembe relentlessly, and eventually we bonded. His attachment injury began to heal. We began to experience the ease of a safe relationship. Many years later, I remember sitting by the sidelines of a soccer game when he made an impressive goal. He did a little dance, and then in the middle of the game, he beelined over to me for a hug. And as I watched him run back to the field while still smiling at me, I was welled up with the pride a parent feels for a child's success, and I remember thinking how far we'd come. The stories of the preschool pickups and the myriad of other behaviors that I will leave in the recesses of my memory are so different from the warm and loving kid that Kembe is today. But even if the healing looked different, and even if those hard behaviors remained, loving unconditionally would have been the right thing to do. And I feel like that is something that adoptive parents, all parents learn it, but adoptive parents is a little baptism by fire that, you know, we don't adopt our kids so that they will come home and be perfect children, you know?
Yeah, I think that there's this other piece of it too, though, that we're like seeking an adoptive community is really important.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know how to put this in a way that it's different.
It's different.
And, you know, I think in certain communities, and certainly in ours, you know, like we live in a very privileged situation. And I recognize that and I'm grateful for it. And many of the families around us look at their children's accomplishments and, you know, and, you know, they're like, oh, here's my child playing Mozart.
Yeah.
And he's 6 days old, you know?
Yeah.
And look at it as a reflection on them.
Yes.
Right? Like they're little, they
little
did
extensions
something
of themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They did something right. That's why they're kids playing Mozart, you know?
Yeah.
And, and also just, it's, little reflections of themselves. And I think as adoptive parents, that it's certainly like a process of reflection. That I say, like, my child is not a tiny me.
Yeah.
My child is on loan from God. And that's really true for everyone.
It's absolutely
it's just
true
about
for every
the
child.
Narrative, right? Although, except my little one, every once in a while, I'm like, oh, he's kind of a little me. We are very similar.
You are.
And big one, Scots, 100%. But I do think, that my child's a loan from God, and he's a gift, and he's mine to take care of. And unconditional love is a great idea. It's a super concept. I don't feel like it's one that our generation was raised with at all.
Yeah. So
we're creating a new model.
Yeah.
And it's not easy and it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Good. Yeah.
I was raised with conditional love.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah.
For sure.
You perform.
Yes.
In order to get accolades, in order to get love. And that doesn't mean that they get a full pass.
No.
To be dicks or anything. No. But it means that I really have to examine that and what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have to kind of dig a little bit deep and see where it's not true for me.
Mm.
Like you're exactly like the passage you read.
Mm-hmm.
Like unconditional love is a great idea before I was a parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It is.
And on the other hand, like it's not a decision you make and then you're like, okay, now it worked. Fantastic. Now I love unconditionally.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a struggle.
Yeah. I mean, and I talked about this in a different chapter of the book, just this idea of like, do we love our adopted kids the same? And it's like, that's such a weird question because it's sort of this, what are we measuring love by, right? Like, are we measuring love in like the warm, fuzzy feelings that our kids give back to us or how we feel when we're around them, or how easy they are to bond with? And it's like, I think that is how we kind of measure love. And I think what adoption has taught me is that love is really about like what we do for the other person, despite how selfish we feel. For me, love did look like pushing in when sometimes I just wanted to back away. And love looked like loving Jafta for 3 years like he was my own kid when I didn't know if he was, And so I think it's just taught me this new concept of love that is not just about how we feel. It's about how we act and what we do. Yeah. And not to be, not to be trite with love as a verb, but it kind of is. Like, I think the way that we measure our love for our kids is how much do we roll up our sleeves and get in there with them? And then also how much do we unconditionally, like without needing a performance back from them or a reflection back from them, how much do we just accept them as the unique and flawed people that they came into the world to be,
Right. And like maybe take that camera and put it on selfie.
Well, that's
too, and look at ourselves and the
that's uncomfortable
people we are. But yeah, I mean, I was like thinking the other day, I'm just trying to figure out the right way to put this. Like, I was just like, I struggle with so much self-hatred, and I wanted my kids to fix that for me.
Yeah.
Because I was going to be the greatest, funnest, most craftiest, seasonal decorating, baking,
domestic, homemaking mom
in the world. And everyone was going to be like, you're so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. gosh, you are lovable.
Yes.
After all. And I can't, they can't give me that.
No.
They can't, they won't.
No. No kid can. No kid can.
No
That's
kid
an
can.
inside
It's
job.
too much to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
So exactly, you know, and I think that unconditional love is a process. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard.
But I'm so like, I'm taking like time for myself.
Yeah.
Trying to create space.
Yeah. That's so smart.
When there actually isn't any.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm trying to listen to what other people want and what other people need.
Yeah.
And also, like you were saying, exactly, not expect them to give it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, when we can lay down our expectations, it really does wonders for us, doesn't it?
So those are things, and also writing.
Yeah. Well, you are working.
Can you writing? I am. I'm working on a book. We're really going to diverge.
Well, you're working on
a true crime book.
You're working on a serial killer book, which is a departure for you. But
yes, so I have been working on a book about a serial killer. I started it a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, and I did it as a departure. It was that was the point.
Yeah.
But what I started it as was a thriller, like novel. Mm-hmm. And I, in the course of researching it, met this detective who told me a story that was so exciting and crazy about how she caught a serial killer. And she was a very compelling character. Her name was Mitzi Roberts, Detective Mitzi Roberts. She told me about this serial killer. And I thought, and she said that she was certain, killed many more people that had been ignored for many years due to the fact that they were marginalized, largely women of color, largely prostitutes, drug addicts. For 30 years, people who were often referred to as by certain people as the less dead, or no humans involved. There were crimes that were reported as no humans involved. If it was a dead prostitute in a dumpster, right? So I thought that I could go. I was like, okay, if I can do anything, I can get some asshole talking.
Totally.
So I'm going to go. I'm going to get him start talking.
Oh my gosh, Jillian. So when does this come out? I'm dying to read this.
So anyway, I did.
Yeah.
Is a thing. And he's confessed. I mean, it wasn't just me. It was the law enforcement community and it was the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
As well. And the Los Angeles Police Department and the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
But I also at the same time did get him to confess. So
that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't take credit for it. It wasn't my idea. It wasn't,
you were involved.
I was involved and I'm curious and I'll do anything.
Yeah. You're the perfect person for this, and your unique life experiences and.
Right.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I can get this guy talking, not that like I can solve these crimes, but I can.
You could facilitate conversation.
Well, but I can maybe get some law enforcement officials interested.
Yeah.
if I can bring some attention to it.
Yes.
So that was a point. Yes. That was when it started.
So amazing.
And it comes out in the fall. It's not done.
Can't wait to read it. I know. So
it's not done.
That's fun. So you're in
it's not done. You know why?
Because you're in quarantining with your children?
Because algorithms.
Yes. I feel triggered every time you say that word.
Right? This book will be done. Anyway, I feel really strongly about it. I'm very passionate. There are living victims.
Yeah.
Of this man who I'm close with, and also victims' family members. Yeah. And I did actually solve a couple murders.
Jillian, it's so fucking
badass. It wasn't the goal, but it happened.
Badass. I love it. I love
it. So, and I mean, not like solve, I just turned up a couple of weird little details.
Listen, you're being self-effacing. You fully helped solve some massive crimes, and it's a big deal.
So, anyway,
and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I know. I have to talk to the fucker every day, but pretty much, I know. It's tough. It's fascinating. Yeah. It's also really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not like I feel like no one put a gun to my head is the wrong metaphor.
Well, but you've always been curious about people. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about people. I'm curious about aberrant behavior.
Yeah.
I'm curious about criminal behavior.
Totally.
I stole a bottle of nail polish from the Rite Aid at the Livingston Mall in New Jersey when I was 13 and was dragged out of the mall in handcuffs.
Yeah.
So it's expunged. It's juvenile crime.
I also have a shoplifting charge that was expunged. Yes, I do.
What did you shoplift?
What did I shoplift? I think it was a dress. From a department store. I know.
Bigger.
It is. It was big. I was a little older than 13. It was not a good season for me.
You're like, let me show it to you.
Yeah, it's in my closet. I'm going to court for it tomorrow. It's no big deal.
I mean, I really want to be clear that while I appear to be glib and I do make jokes about these things, that's a very common strategy. It's the same thing about parenting. Yeah. I mean, not to equate parenting to murder, but yet. But humor's a strategy for dealing with things that are otherwise very difficult to face.
Yeah.
So I do make jokes and I do laugh. And also I do talk to a man who killed roughly 100 women. And that has had a profound effect on my life.
Oh, I bet.
And it's hard. And I really hope to do it justice in this book. It's called Behold the Monster.
That's such a good
title.
And
it's coming out from Dutton in the fall.
I love it.
There's my plug.
Do it. Okay. As we end, where can people find you online? I'm sure they're going to want to follow more and, what's your handle on Instagram and Twitter and all the things?
I'm sure they're going to want to character assassinate me.
No.
More?
No.
No. Okay. I'm at Jilly Lauren on Twitter. I'm at Jillian Lauren on Instagram.
You're JillianLauren.com.
When am I on Facebook? Yeah, I'm JillianLauren.com. I'm pretty sure I'm Jillian Lauren on Facebook.
I think you are too. Yeah. Well, friend, it was so good to talk to you. It was so good to see your face.
I know. I just want to stay here and stare at you. Yeah.